A simple puppy purchase turns into a courtroom clash where emotion meets contract law, and a new pet owner finds herself standing in front of a Judge O'Hara Doberman she refused to return. It started like a normal transaction. A young woman, Miss Hodges, had been looking forward to bringing home a Doberman puppy. The puppy was just 8 weeks old, energetic, and full of promise. She bought it from Miss Chandler, a breeder who regularly handled such sales. Everything seemed smooth at first. Money exchanged, puppy handed over, and a written agreement signed to formalize the deal. But that agreement would soon become the center of a legal battle. The contract clearly stated one key condition. The breeder guaranteed that the puppy was in good health at the time of sale, based on her knowledge. However, there was a strict clause attached. If the buyer believed a puppy was sick within 48 hours, they had to take it to a veterinarian, provide proof of illness at the time of purchase, and return the puppy within that same 48-hour window. Only then would they receive an exchange puppy of equal value. No veterinary bills would be reimbursed under any condition. That clause, simple on paper, would decide the entire case later. Within just 2 days of bringing the puppy home, Miss Hodges noticed changes. The puppy was not behaving like a normal young dog. It appeared weak, tired, and uninterested in food. Worried, she rushed it to a veterinarian within the allowed 48-hour period. The diagnosis she received shocked her. The puppy tested positive for parvo, a serious and highly contagious virus in young dogs. For a new pet owner, this was a frightening situation. She immediately contacted the breeder, convinced the puppy had been sick at the time of sale. But instead of agreement, the conversation turned into disagreement. Each side interpreted the situation differently. Neither was willing to accept responsibility. What began as a private concern quickly escalated into a legal dispute. In court, Miss Hodges presented the veterinary report confirming the parvo test result. She argued that the puppy was clearly unwell at the time of purchase and that the breeder should be held accountable. Emotionally, she explained how difficult it was to see a new pet suffer so soon after bringing it home. But the breeder stood firm. Miss Chandler responded with a very different explanation. She stated that the puppy had received a parvo vaccination on the same day it left her care. According to veterinary knowledge, some vaccines can sometimes trigger temporary positive readings in certain tests, even when the animal is not actually infected. To support her defense, she also brought forward medical records of the puppy's littermates. These records showed that none of the other puppies had tested positive for parvo after a proper waiting period, which suggested that a full outbreak was unlikely. This shifted the direction of the argument. If this was a true infection, it would have likely affected more than one puppy in the litter. Another important factor also entered the discussion: environmental stress. The judge considered what happens to very young puppies when they leave their litter, new environment, long travel, unfamiliar surroundings, and sudden changes in routine all trigger stress responses. Loss of appetite, fatigue, and digestive issues are common in such transitions. Even a sudden change in food can worsen the situation and mimic symptoms of illness. This raised an important question in the courtroom: was this truly parvo, or a combination of vaccine reaction and stress? Then the focus shifted back to the contract. The judge made it clear that the agreement between both parties was the foundation of the case. It gave a specific solution. If illness was proven within 48 hours, the puppy could be returned and exchanged. That there was no provision for keeping the puppy and also claiming medical expenses. And that is where Miss Hodges' decision became crucial. She admitted that she did not want to return the puppy. She had already become emotionally attached to it. She wanted this specific dog, not a replacement, but at the same time, she also wanted reimbursement for the veterinary treatment. The judge pointed out the conflict in that position. The contract did not support both choices at once. You could not keep the puppy outside the exchange rule and still demand medical compensation that was explicitly excluded. The court then evaluated all arguments together. The breeder's explanation about vaccination effects, the lack of illness in other litter mates, and the stress factors all created reasonable doubt about the initial diagnosis being definitive parvo infection. Ultimately, the judge concluded that the contractual terms had not been followed as required. The buyer had chosen to retain the puppy instead of following